So I'm David Wilson. Sorry, actually, clearly haven't rehearsed our introduction. I'm David Wilson, as some of you know. I work for TBS Cymru, and the actual host for today is.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Akshita. I lead on Net Zero at TPAS Cymru, and I'm really happy to see you all today in our session on water matters, water efficiency, and Welsh Housing Quality Standard, or the WHQS. So, there's been a lot of discussion in the recent times on efficiency, creating energy efficient homes, water efficiency, and there's been just efficiency in every book or every research we've been reading. So, with great support with Welsh Water, who are our energy experts for today, we've planned this session to make you understand what does WHQS say about water efficiency, how could you save on water, and little efforts which could really bring the big difference to your home and in our communities. So, big thank you to Welsh Water again for coming together and discussing such an important topic. So before we proceed, a bit of housekeeping. This is a Zoom chat, meaning it's going to be really interactive and engaging. Please feel free to make sure that you use the chat box to share your thoughts and questions. We will make sure to take those towards the end, so don't hold yourself back and share your thoughts with us. All the resources, including videos, links, or even the presentation from today, will be shared afterwards. If you wish to revisit the session, as David said, we're recording this session too. So, what are we discussing today? So, there's been a lot on water, but what are we discussing today? The Welsh Housing Quality Standard, which were introduced in 2023, have a lot of sections. They have a lot to say on affordable warmth, flooring, kitchens, and much more. But what does it say on water? That is one thing we will discuss today. The second thing we will discuss is leaky loos. So, small fixes which could really bring about big savings on your pocket. This will be a presentation by Welsh Water. Water efficiency visits, how they could help you. Future thinking, there's nothing in this world which could be solved without future thinking, without innovation. So, where is the innovation in water efficiency? Inspiration is another thing we keep looking for. So, where is the inspiration on water efficiency around Wales? So, these were some points which we will be discussing today. But the great challenge which lies in front of us is the Welsh Housing Quality Standard, which I'm not afraid to say that it will keep coming in our discussion and in future as well. So, what does it say on water efficiency? In point 3G, it says implement measures to improve water efficiency and reduce consumption to less than 110 liters per person per day. Now, this is something which didn't really get along in our head or even David's head. So, what is that? Following the performance standards for water fittings and appliances starting from April 2024, meaning some landlords would have already started the work for this. It also then goes on to say all fittings and appliances installed must comply with the regulations from 1999. Um, Below table, you could see that there are fittings and maximum performance level is also listed then in the Welsh Housing Quality Standard, telling you the ideal numbers which should follow as per the standards. But as you'd expect from us, there are lots of think points, there are lots of thoughts which came to our mind when we read this. For example, who understands these performance standards? Are they realistic or not? Who is measuring these? When is it measured? Is there a report where all of this is compiled? Can tenants see it? Can tenants have a say on it? And do we need more education or sessions like these, like today, to sort of understand more on what is a performance level? So I think these are some questions we continue to raise to landlords, to Welsh Gov, to understand and make sure that these standards are delivered in the right way for both landlords and tenants.
Let's jump in on there actually as well. See that one about dual flush? Every, who's got a toilet that's got those two buttons on there? And who actually understands which one you're meant to press? Or are you just one of these people like me who just presses both and see what happens? There's no point having these technologies unless we have an education behind it, because you can see the difference there. There's a 50% difference in water. But I don't know, maybe any comment in the chat if you actually are. I think the stats are about 40% of people know what are smart enough to know how to use these buttons. I don't. I'm clearly in the fail category. Do let me know if you have any thoughts on that because we've polled people on this before. Anyway, sorry, back to you, actually.
No, but as David said, it's really confusing. Like, even David asked me to do that survey, and I was pretty clueless. So, I think there are a lot of terms in the Welsh Housing Quality Standard or even on water efficiency we fail to understand. So, hopefully, this session should help us today with our water experts, Welsh Water, on table today with us. But there are some deadlines, obviously, to look for, ranging from EPCC, March 2030 to the Target Energy Pathway, March 2027, smart meters, and water efficiency, which, as per this table, must have already started from the landlords. But without any further ado, I will hand it over to David, who will speak on one of our favorite topics through our pulse as well, which is water butts.
Yeah, so I just want to quickly mention it's not just about water efficiency we're going to talk about today. There's also issues like water butts and things. So WHQS talks about it. You've heard me talk about it, that water butts need to be installed where appropriate. And we're hearing a bit of resistance from landlords on this subject, even though the standard is quite clear on this. Um, sorry, I just can't next slide for some reason. I should up there. There's also been updates as well. Oops. There's been updates as well. I mean, it's one of the ones we need to keep an eye on in WHQS as WHQS evolves and there's new standards. So if you can't, um, sorry, we're going all over the shop. There was an April update some of you might have seen around having to put stickers on there, which the suppliers don't actually have. Um, and presumably for social housing, we'll need to make them bilingual, or we'll need to make there's opportunities for QR codes to open up video and stuff. It's something actually we've been looking at is could we, as TPAS, support social housing by making some of that content, tenant-friendly content that needs to go with those updates. So it's always evolving. That's the point of this, and we need to be. And water is key to this. I'm going to see if I can next slide now, rather than actually. I'm just going to have in. And we're making videos. Some of you might have seen this one. I call him the King of Water Butts, David Clubb, who lives in Cardiff. He's got them all over his house, front and back, capturing every drop of water. He's got grey water, all sorts of stuff. Um, he really does know his stuff, and we'll be using him again for things. Um, but the point is, the support for this from tenants. Tenant Pulse says the respondents supported installing water butts. Um, and the ones who weren't, there was only a small percentage who were against it. Actually, it was more about the ones who were against or were supportive, but limited space, or they just needed a bit more information. But, it's something we want to see. Water conservation is a key part of, I think, as we go forward, a more sustainable planet. Um, and there's interestingly, it was different ages and things like that. Actually, on this one, the older you were, the more likely you'd want a water butt. Um, and it was in the 30s, they weren't as it looked at first, they were resistant, but actually it was often because they're in flats, smaller properties, generation rent are having a tough time, the under 30s, trying to find suitable accommodation. And so sometimes it wasn't so much a lack of enthusiasm, it was just wasn't applicable to them or part of their rental agreement or something like that they were doing. So I just want to also mention that smarter water use is part of a sustainable planet. I really mean that. If you look at like plastic bottles and waste, I was looking at the stats last night. I was going to put them in, but they just seem so unbelievable. They're so absurd how many plastic water bottles, disposable ones, are used, single-use plastics are used and thrown away. How many of them end up um, in oceans and things like that. And so on that previous slide, and it went forward for some reason, in Wales, we're seeing more drinking water fountains, things like that. I know that's not part of what we're doing today, but your communities will benefit from it. And there's some wonderful things going on across Wales. And we've got a guide that we put on the site about a project I was part of where we put a water drinking fountain in our local park. Um, they are great. Please do put more water drinking fountains around here. I think it's part of our sustainability going forward. Anyway, I think that was that. Let's get. I want to mention we've got some events coming up. We've got an in-person training next week. I think it is on WHQS, new heating solutions, things like that. That's one in Cardiff, but we're going to be doing some in the north and west soon as well. and a knowledge exchange for officers who are in this field who want to share their experiences and how they're getting on. I think. I also want to mention we've got a net zero pulse or energy efficiency pulse coming out in a couple of days' time. I think that's next Monday, isn't it?
Yes,
So look out for
January
that.
27th.
We've chopped and changed it. We've made it easier. We've cut down the questions from last year. And I think it's really important. If you're coming to something like this, you're probably interested or should be interested in that pulse. It's all about energy efficiency and affordable warmth. And I think let's get started, shall we? Just move on. Slides. Problems with it? Oh,
Perfect. So we now have Annie Lamb, our project manager from Welsh Water, who will be taking you through on some of the points. So I'll just get her presentation on.
Pananda, thanks for having me today. It's really exciting to be able to talk with people who are interested in this topic. Water efficiency is becoming ever more politically and environmentally charged. It's really an important topic, but I guess being able to talk to people who are directly impacted now, especially with the Welsh Housing Quality Standards, sort of focusing on that water efficiency, it's really important that we work in partnership and see how we can work together and try and find solutions that benefit everyone, benefit all our customers. So I've got some slides today. I'm sure many of you are supplied by Welsh Water, if not all of you, but I just wanted to give a bit of an overview on our first slide about the business in sort of a broader terms. So thanks, thanks, Akisha. So on the next slide, I've got a map of the area we serve. I think it's often assumed that we serve all of Wales. But actually, there's a bit of a chunk missing. So this is a map of the areas we serve, which is most of Wales and some of Hereford and Deeside. So we serve 1.4 million homes and businesses, which is a massive undertaking. That's 3 million people in Wales, Hereford and Deeside. So to do that, we supply 828 million litres of water every day. That's a lot of water. And, in summer months when we've had really hot summers, it's difficult to make sure that we maintain that and facing forward into the future when we think about other areas or, we talk about London facing water deficits and different places. We do have that already in certain areas during hot months. In West Wales, we've had it in the past where we've had droughts and it becomes difficult. So it's important for us to champion water efficiency, that we keep everyone in supply and good quality. We've got lots of kilometres of mains for our clean water and for our sewers, and we've got 92 open water reservoirs. So there's lots of assets, lots of things going on. And we are a large company. We're the fourth largest company in Wales. And, when you compare us against other water companies across over in England and even against Scotland, things like that, we're the sixth largest water and waste company. So we do a lot. We're involved in lots of things. But today we're just going to focus on just water efficiency and just how it impacts you and, your tenants, yourselves, how you use water, and look and delve into that a bit more. So on the next slide, we've got a question to pose to you just to get you all involved, really. We wanted to ask, how many litres on average do you think one person uses per day? So this is an average. I appreciate some of you might be water efficient already. Some of you might, spend a long time in the shower and be aware that perhaps you're not. But I think some of us have a perception that we are water efficient. But when you think about, this answer, so I think we've got a poll that we can open. Is that right, Akisha? So if you could pop in there what you think, I think we think, oh, we probably don't use that much. But think about maybe how many times you go to the toilet and flush the toilet, or water in the shower, maybe washing your food, cooking your food, the water you drink each day, brushing your teeth even. Do you run your tap? We all know we shouldn't, but do you? Do you knock it off when you brushing your teeth? Washing the car, maybe you do that quite frequently. So have a think. Watering plants, washing clothes, how much do you think you use per day? So I don't know if I can. see the answers coming through. I can see some of you have answered. David or Keisha, can you see any of the answers? Can we see?
It's on, so I can see 17 people have already participated. As soon as it's done, I will launch the answer.
Okay, yeah, giving them a chance to sort of get you. I was waiting for it to sort of pop up then. And some of you might be on the money with how much. Some of you might be a bit conservative. But when we think about all the water we use per day, it does all add up. I think we even had recently, we had like a stand where we had these clear bottles on a table, and a colleague came in and said, "Oh, is that how much water I use a day?" And we said, "No, that's how much water you would use if you were leaving the tap running when you brushed your teeth, and just in that short space of time." And even someone that works in the water industry, is quite shocked at that, because to have that visual, especially when we run in the tap, one of the hacks I've learned is sort of put the plug in. So you can see it when you're washing your hands, when you're brushing your teeth. You can see that water fill in, and you think, actually, that's a lot of water. But because it's going straight down the drain, and often this is really clean water that's been, treated. It's gone through a really robust process to get it to your home, and we're just leaving it sort of, run away. So, and that's what today's about. It's not about asking you to not use water. We all need to use water. It's very important, but just being mindful of it. So it's good to sort of understand what our own perceptions are, what our own usage is, when we're trying to sort of then go out to customers and tenants and explain to them. So I think we've had quite a lot of answers in that poll.
I'd close it actually if I was you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we've got about 23
Got a lot
answers.
of answers. I hope you can see the results on screen.
I can't see it. It's like building a suspense. I'm like, oh no. I hope you haven't all said like the same answer. We all know, we've been Googling it. It's not appearing for me. Can you see any of them, Dave or Sheeta?
David, you're on mute.
I'm just trying to get the details now. So it starts from 75, 50, 140, 150, down to 35, up
Wow.
to 276, 300. 25 is the lowest so far, and I think
Wow.
300 is the highest. So
And
that's
you know
a
what?
big range. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a big range. That's right. And some of you might actually be accurate. You might actually be very conscientious with your water supply, and you might only be using, I'd love it if you're all using 25 litres a day, but I don't think that's very likely that all of you would be. 300, some people as well, if you do take a long time in the shower or have lots of baths, things like that, maybe 300 is what you use on average. In Wales, what our average is about 150 litres per day per person. So maybe in a two-person household, 300 would be about right. And that's it, that's each person. So the bigger household you have, the more people in your home, the more you use then. But it's quite a lot of water. And when we break it down into where our water is actually being used, most shower heads use about 15 litres per minute. So if you're having a 10-minute shower, that's 150 litres used, they're just in one thing. So then you add on all the other things that we do a day, all the water we use to flush our toilet, wash our clothes, things like that. It's not surprising that it's at 150. So we've got a task, to try and reduce that down, try and, be conscientious with how we are using our water. And I don't think we'll get to 25 litres per day on average. But, if you could it's just all about making those small changes. So maybe if you do have a 20-minute shower now, maybe try and bring that down to 10. We'd love people to be taking 4-minute showers. That's sort of the recommendation. But it's not realistic. If you take a 20-minute shower now, for us all of a sudden to be like, no, you've got to go down to 4. But it's just about finding better habits, just being more mindful as we go along. So If we could go ahead to our next slides. So the team I work in is called the Cartref team. Some of you may already know that Cartref means home in Welsh, and that's because that's where we spend most of our time talking to customers, or even when we're out and about, it's talking to them about the usage at home. So we do a few different things. We have a few different offerings within that program. We started initially just doing sort of leaky loo repairs. So about 1 in 10 toilets we imagine are leaking at any one time. It could be a bit more, but what we come across is probably about 1 in 10. And when we think about leaking toilets, it's often seen by customers as it's not perceived as a leak, because the toilets we have now, they often just go back down the pan, and we don't actually maybe perceive that as a leak. We see that maybe as just wait, just it's just still running. It's just not. But these toilets can leak, 10 liters an hour on average, but up to hundreds of liters an hour. We've seen toilets that are leaking over 1,000 liters an hour just from a small, just from a toilet leak. So we go in and undertake those repairs, and they're mutually beneficial. So lots of the time we get customers say to us, "Oh, is this a scam? If it's free," and a bit skeptical. But it's a mutually beneficial thing where we are saving water as well as helping our customers save water. I can see George has put his hand up. I'm happy to take questions as we go through if you wanna ask it, George.
Yes, I've got a colostromat toilet, and I did report it to your free service. They took nearly 5 weeks to come, but they did come out. But they took one look at the toilet and said they couldn't do anything because it was a non-standard toilet. It's one that washes your bottom and blow dries and things like that. So I then reported it to my landlord just before Christmas, because they do have a service contract on the toilet. And I told the landlord that there's water. You can see ripples in the water in the basin, so it must be leaking down. There must be an overflow pipe going into there, and the landlord has done nothing, even though I reported it. I mean, it's 6 weeks now since I told the landlord, and I've not heard a word about it. So there is a lot of apathy and a lot of delays in getting repairs done. Although it's probably my fault for having a non-standard toilet, otherwise your engineer would have done it.
Oh, I don't think it's your fault. There's so many different toilets out there, and they all, it's not a one size fits all. And as we are getting more challenges as people try and get these, different aesthetically pleasing bathrooms. We get different challenges where they're boxed in and tiled in. So we do have limitations. So we can't fix every toilet. We've tried to over time get better at how we respond to customers. So we do have a video portal where customers can now just take a quick video. It's not an app you have to download. It's just via a QR code or a link. You can just quickly take a little snapshot of the toilet, and our plumbers then review it before we go to site. So we prevent anyone sort of waiting in and waiting or depending on us when it might be something that we can't help with, and it allows us to sort of give that professional advice from our plumbers, even where we can't help them. We could say, we would say, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Lockett. Unfortunately, in this situation, we wouldn't be able to help because of the specialist toilet, but give recommendations of your next steps." It's still quite a relatively new program, so as we've sort of embarked on this project, we've changed how we do things, and we recognise, actually getting people to wait in for us and then we maybe can't help wasn't the best way. So the video triaging tool is very useful. There may be situations where people have maybe digital poverty or don't have access to a video. We would ask them maybe for a description over the phone so we can try and triage them. We wouldn't say to someone, "You can't have an appointment because you don't have a mobile phone or a video phone." But it has allowed us to prevent some wasted journeys and to be able to give customers the right expectations from the get-go. It's really disappointing to hear that your landlord isn't able to help you with the solution there, and perhaps we can have a look into that after this session and speak to you about it. But yeah, we do appreciate there are challenges. There are lots of different specialist toilets out there now, all sorts of things. But we do try our best. We have about a 8% rate of customers that we go back to and say, unfortunately, we can't help in this instance. And a lot of the time it's because we get the queries in that are maybe outside of toilets as well. They might have a leak in the footpath, but they've sent it to us and we pass that on to our leakage teams, things like that. But we like 92% of the referrals we get, we were able to go and help out with. And I'll talk about the leaking do's in a bit more detail further on, because I've got some video clips as well. Like you said, the water going down the back of the pan. Sometimes we don't see that. Some people might not perceive that as a leak, and particularly if you're on an unmeasured supply, you might think, oh, well, there's not really a lot of incentive. If you're on a measured supply and it's impacting your bills, there's a bit more of an incentive to get that resolved. But even if an unmeasured customer, obviously it's good for the environment if we can prevent wasted water. It's good, it's the right thing to do. And when our plumbers go out, they do have conversations about water efficiency. We've now sort of evolved that program of works where they will provide water efficiency products and have water efficiency conversations. And it's much better when you're face to face with someone, because you can have those organic conversations. If you can see that someone's got a large garden and lots of plants, we can talk to them more about the tips in the garden that they can save water. We can ask them, have they got a water bet? We can ask them, what time of day do they water their plants and things like that. But if someone's, lives in an apartment and they haven't got a garden, then it would be silly for us to sort of go through that. So whilst we've got a nice little app where we can do a bit of an MOT with the customer, it's still very organic. It's still very person by person, and we're able to sort of signpost customers to the right schemes depending on how those conversations go as well. They might need some additional support. Maybe there's worthwhile for them being on our additional services or priority services. So we can have those conversations when we're with them as well. And these are open to all our domestic customers. So there's no criteria you have to meet. You don't have to be on any certain benefits or tariffs. It is open to all our domestic customers. So we pop on to the next slide. So the water efficiency home visits, they are quite new. So it's still an area, again, we hope to evolve as new devices come out, as new guidance comes out. It's just constantly evolving. But our water efficiency inspector would come out. They would go through different questions with you to try and see where we can help you, where there might be tips to save water, and for you to understand where you're using your water as well. Perhaps you use a lot of water in the bathroom. You might have long showers, or perhaps actually I really like my fruit and veg, and I do that a lot, and I leave the tap running. And having these conversations then is just bringing those things to the forefront and making us think, like, actually, is there a different way of doing this? And they've been really, really well received. They also look at associated benefits. So if you're unmeasured, you might think, well, actually, I'm not going to be able to save money on my water. I can use as much or as little, and it's not going to impact my bill. There's lots of associated benefits with saving water. So yes, the environmental impact, if you care about the environment. If you don't care about the environment, there's still benefits to you as an individual. So we've got lots of associated savings from energy, which then result in money saving. If you're using less water, wasting less water, you're not heating the water up. So about 12% of our household energy bills are spent on heating water. So if you can reduce that water that you're heating, you will be able to see monetary savings as well as energy savings, as well as environmental benefits. So these are some of the products that we fit to these appointments. The hose gun, for example, would be beneficial if you've got a conventional hose and it's just running to waste when you're not using it. These trigger guns mean that when you can only use them when you pull the trigger. The water only comes out when you pull the trigger. We've got shower heads. As I mentioned, the standard shower head uses about 15 litres per minute, which is a lot of water when you think about it. When you think about the big bottles that you'd have in the supermarket, when you think about 2 litres, it's quite a lot of water to use 15 per minute. So these shower heads are fitted and use 7 litres per minute instead. And they do that by introducing air into the shower. So it's just like a sort of a frothier water. It doesn't really impact the user sort of experience, because it doesn't sort of change the pressure. It's just adding water in. You wouldn't usually notice any difference. These are for mains fed showers though, because most electric showers already have an aerated shower head. So these are more for like gas mains fed showers. But they don't involve any behavioral change, and that's what's really good about these devices. It's not us convincing you, you have to do something differently. We can pop them in, like the tap aerators can go in and reduce 50% of the water by just adding in air. It stops so much splashing if that's important to you as well. So it's, neater in the bathroom. It just makes the water a bit frothier, and it actually is. It's got sort of anti-limescale material in it, so sometimes people get maybe black slime in the taps. It's sort of quite hygienic as well, having those tap aerators in there. But they don't involve any behavioural change. The Saver flush bags are great because they save 1.2 litres every time you flush. And again, there's no change to behaviour. You just pop them in and you forget about them. They last over 10 years. They're really good. But as we've seen over the last sort of few years, maybe over the last decade, toilet systems are getting smaller as we sort of strive for these really aesthetic bathrooms. So some toilets might already be water efficient and not need these Saver flush bags. They're similar to, some of you might remember, just putting a brick in the back of the toilet cistern. It's just a water displacement, so it's just taking up that space instead of you having to fill all that water. So they're a really great product, but they are suitable for the larger cisterns as opposed to the ones that we've got dual flush that are already water efficient. And like David mentioned with the dual flush, the little flush is for a smaller flush. So if you've, just trying to just get rid of just water waste, and the larger flush then is usually like 6 litres, and the small flush is usually about 4 litres. But they depend on your toilets. Some of the toilets, because I saw a comment earlier about the dual flush button not being very accessible for certain disabilities and things. You can get the dual flush concept with the conventional handle, where you would have maybe a half flush for a small flush for like 4 litres, or you would flush it all the way for 6 litres. But there's just so much variety out there with the toilets and the flushes. And unfortunately, they're not always like a one size fits all, where we can give guidance on all of these toilets. Sometimes it's when our plumbers actually go out and they're able to give their expertise and say, oh, well, actually this toilet does this and this handle does that. But yeah, it's quite a lot of different guidance out there, and we're just trying to make things as generic, I guess, as we can until we're face to face, where we can be more bespoke. And just the last one on there, the shower timer. These are brilliant for poaching eggs because they're 4 minutes. But what we use them for in the shower is for reducing our shower time. So like we talked about, if you currently have a 20-minute shower, asking you to do 4 is probably not realistic. But what those shower timers do is prompt us to understand, actually, you might think you have, oh yeah, I probably only in the shower 4 minutes. When you think about, but if you timed yourself, would that actually come out 4 minutes? And these shower timers are good for sort of just being conscious of thinking, oh my gosh, I've been in the shower 4 minutes, or I've already turned that once, I've been in here 8 minutes. And understanding that there are things you can do to sort of save water in the shower. Some people, especially people who are really conscientious about their water use, will lather themselves up before they turn the shower on, or they'll they'll turn the shower off when they're lathering their hair and then turn it back on. And I think we just forget to do those things because we just get wrapped up in, oh, it'll take too long, or but if we can be mindful of things and make small changes, or not leaving the shower run to heat up. I think perhaps when I was younger, that's something that my parents used to do. And as I got older, I realized, you know what, my shower heats up in like 20 seconds. Most showers do. You go to a hotel and different things. Most showers do heat up quite quickly. Do we need to be running them, or can we leave the plug in so that we can see that visual of that water that's being used and things like that? If we could go on to the next slide. I do go off on a tangent because I could just talk about this topic all day. I'm so sorry. But this is just a little snapshot for you of the water report that's done at our water efficiency audit. So it's kind of like an MOT for your water use. It gives you a bit of a breakdown of where you use your water, how you could become more water efficient, maybe a bit of like an EPC vibe, where it'll tell you about where you are and where you could be if you just did these little changes. And what's handy about it is, again, we give those sort of monetary values. Water is still a cheaper utility than gas or electric. So sometimes when we say, or if you change this habit, you could save this much money, people are actually like, oh, that's not that much. That's not as much as I would like. Maybe I won't change this habit. But when we pay that again with the energy costs associated, we realize actually these behavior changes can make a difference to me on a monetary term as well. So yes, it's quite good. We can email these to customers as well. So while it's a lot of information to take in at the appointment, having these emailed to you allows you to have a cup of tea later and go back through them and like, oh, what was that tip again? Or how much could I save? Because it's a lot of stats to have in one hit. But if you go into the next slide, we just come back around to the leaky loos. So I just wanted to delve into this a little bit more because we do get a lot of savings from our leaky loos. Like I mentioned, we've evolved this over time. We like to direct customers to our video portal, so there's QR code on our flyers. But we do still get a lot of skepticism around this, and we always want to make sure people feel safe. So our plumbers go out and they have their Welsh Water lanyards with them. We have schemes in Welsh Water like password protect. So if someone wanted to set up a password for the plumber or advisor that's coming around to put them at ease, to be able to have, that confidence that it is genuinely Welsh Water, that this is a free service. We just want to make sure, our customers feel safe. We would, if you felt safe, we would rather you decline the appointment with us, and we wouldn't try and force our way in and be like, no, it's genuine. We always want everyone to feel safe. So this has been really good with our customers. It's, like I said, mutually beneficial because we save a lot of leakage from this. Some of the toilets we come across can be leaking, like I said, over 1,000 litres an hour. And we would dig up the road for that sort of volume. We would have to dig up roads. We would have to, dig out stop taps. And that can be really expensive. So allowing us to go in and change a washer or maybe just the sort of the system that sits within the toilet, lots of them can be clicked out and new ones put in. It's cost effective for us, and I think it's important that we are transparent that this isn't it's mutually beneficial. It's for us as a business being able to save this water. We don't want to go through all this work of cleaning water for it to go to waste, down the back of the toilet. But it's also the right thing to do for our customers, particularly those who are on measured supplies. And these leaks, if they are large leaks, could really impact your bills. We do have limitations, as mentioned. So there are some toilets we can't help with, or like I said, in aesthetically pleasing bathrooms where it's been all tiled in. If there's no way to get to the cistern other than a sledgehammer through the tiles, we wouldn't be able to do that. We would have to, explain that it's beyond our remit. And we do try and be very transparent with our customers and be open and set those expectations. If you go on to the next slide, this is an example of different leaking toilets. So sometimes we don't notice them when they're going down the back of the pan. And we know how long are we standing there once we flush the toilet, sort of staring into the bowl. We're not doing that. But sometimes if it's a large leak, you can hear it. It might sort of bother you enough to get a plumber or to give us a call. But even at the, afterwards, if it's trickling, there's things you can do like putting food colouring at the back and maybe leaving it overnight to see if it goes into the bowl. We've got leaky loo strips that you can order via our Save Water, Save Money platform. So you can order them online if you're not sure, or if you want to check on any of your toilets. Even the toilet tissue, though, if you've got some toilet paper and you put that on the back, and then come back and see if it's dry or if it is leaking. So some of the stats there, based on averages, if you've got a trickling toilet, that could be losing 200 litres a day, and that's the equivalent of £161.33 a year. So even a trickling toilet can really add up. The fast flowing ones could be leaking 8,000 litres a day. And that could be 6,400 litres a year. And it's not to frighten anyone. We do have meter readers out there for people on measured supplies. We do try and help customers, but to prevent any sort of bill shock or worry, we just want to make customers aware. Want them to know what's going on in their properties and what help we can offer to remedy those things, really. So we pop on to the next slide. I just mentioned about Save Water, Save Money. So they host a platform for us where we try and encourage customers to get fit, get water fit. And you can go on, you can answer some questions about your home and your water use, and they will send you out free water saving devices. The visits are probably best because our advisors can fit those products for you there and then and have those conversations and go through the water with you. However, we appreciate that that's not always feasible for some people, or those people who perhaps don't want anyone in their homes. This is a great way of you still being able to save water just through answering some questions online. The reason they ask the questions, because some people might find them intrusive or wonder why I've got to ask all these questions, is to make sure they send the right products for you. I mentioned about the shower heads not being suitable for electric showers. So we wouldn't want a customer with an electric shower to be sent a shower head and then that to impact their user experience. We want you to enjoy using water. We want it to be a good experience, but we just want to be able to save wastewater where we can. So they ask you lots of questions, but it's to make sure they send the right products for you. You'll also be able to have them sent to your home free of charge, so there's no costs for them. They have got chargeable items on the website, so just in case you go on and you said, oh, well, I was told these are free, they have got chargeable items because they do sell water saving devices, perhaps some of their, I don't know, they've got mod cons on there, or light up shower heads or different things that they charge for. But if you go to the Get Water Fit platform, everything that's sent to you is all free of charge, and they'll let you know what they're sending you out. And then just to tie back really to why we went, going through this, and why we want customers to be water efficient, and how it ties in with all the expectations that you have with the water quality standards. So in terms of rental properties, in the section 3G, it says there's a need for measuring measures to improve water efficiency and alleviate water poverty. Sorry, I've read that in the wrong way then. Measures to improve water efficiency and alleviating water poverty must be installed when replacing fittings and fixed appliances. So we want to help, be involved and encourage those behaviours as well. And reducing water consumption reduces energy and chemical inputs required to supply hot and cold water, the cost of metered water and potential water poverty, and the potential for Wales to be in a water deficit by 2050. So those are, again, like mutual targets. They're things that we are already sort of thinking about to do to reduce water wastage. But I think it's really important that we work closely together to see how we can help our shared customers. What other organisations are out there that we can work with, and just make sure that we're all sending the same message and being efficient. If there's opportunities for us to work together and be less disruptive to customers as well. If you're going in and fitting devices, on to an empty property, and it's not disrupting the customer at all and things like that. Is just looking at those things really, and really seeing new ways of working that helps everyone. If you go into the next slide, I'm not sure if this video is going to work. It's just a short video about saving.
Although rain falls freely from the sky, we put a lot of work, energy and love into getting every drop of water to you. Water is an essential resource which plays a vital part in each and every one of our daily lives. At Welsh Water, our job is to ensure that when you turn on the tap, you have access to a reliable source of the best quality water when you need it. It's a precious resource, one which we need to value and preserve so that it's available for all future generations to come. Most people in Wales use 150 litres of water a day. That's 75 large bottles of pop. But there are some really simple and straightforward things you can introduce into your daily lives, which will help to reduce the amount of water you use. For example, turning off the tap when you brush your teeth twice a day could save around 24 litres. That's the same as 80 cups of tea. Or you could swap from a bath to having a shower and save yourself nearly 40 litres. And if you reduced your shower time to just 4 minutes, you can save water and energy, which will save you money on your utility bill. For example, reducing a 10-minute shower to 4 minutes can save the average household almost £100 on their annual water bill. At Welsh Water, we offer some free handy products through our Get Water Fits calculator on our website. For instance, our free water-saving shower head reduces the flow of water without reducing your water pressure, so saving water without changing your shower experience. And a shower timer will help you keep an eye on those minutes. If you're getting busy in the garden, why not use a watering can to keep your plants hydrated? Or even better, install a water butt to collect the rainwater through the rainy season and use this during the drier months in the garden or to wash your car. We also have free hose guns, which help control the flow of water from hoses, so it reduces waste. Using a bowl or plug when you wash dishes can cut the amount of water used for this in half. If you're washing fruit and veg in the sink, or waiting for your tap to run hot, use a bowl to...
Just stopped.
So, did any of you see any of the video moving, or did you just see about the same screen as me? Yeah. Okay. So apologies for what seemed like the most probably boring video you've ever seen, but there's supposed to be changes in that video that you could hear alongside the text. What I can do is I can send it out to David, send a link of the video if you do want to watch it. It's on our website as well, and it is a bit more exciting than the one you just watched because it does have changing screens and visuals to try and help connect those facts to be able to help you to remember. But I think it might be in the slides I sent over. I'm so sorry, Keisha. But yeah, perhaps if we've got some time to go through any questions that you might have about the offerings, the slides, anything like that.
Yeah. Anyone, if we use the hand ups or anything in the comments, anybody got any questions? Has anyone used any of these services? I know in the past I've had some kits on water saving stuff in previous years, about 10 years ago now. That was most useful because I had one of the old tank that needed a saver in it. Amanda, go for it.
You know I'd be here for it.
I did expect either you or Mel first, yeah.
My concerns are listening to a lot of it, it's great, but there's disability needs as well. For example, we do take longer in the showers. I remember when I was having to wash bedding every single day due to enuresis issues and so forth. Yeah. And some of us, it is impossible to reduce down any lower than we can. And also, it was a comment about 4-minute shower. My son has hair down to his bum. It's thick. It takes him 4 minutes to get it wet. It's a big job. And a lot of people with longer hair, so there's all these life situations where it's great that we wish we could, but realistically, for a lot of us, there are limits to how far we can take it.
Yeah.
And another comment there was at the WHQS, how many landlords are aware that they are meant to be doing, every time they're doing external garden work, they should be looking at considering for the water butts and stuff like that. So there's a lot come up that I'm interested in, but I do worry, I'm just curious, how are the life impacts for certain groups and how aware of the requirements of the landlords for certain things? Multiple questions, sorry.
No, that's great. And I think it's really important that we do have these conversations. So to start with, understanding that, it's not a one size fits all. People are always going to have different water usage. When we talk about 150 average, it is an average. There are people that are able to use less water, and there are people that absolutely aren't. I think it's good to have these conversations though, because we do have tariffs available to customers that perhaps have additional, water needs, and certainly for priority services as well. Making sure that people who, if we have any incidents, are reached with bottled water and things like that. So it's not just about supply. So we would never be trying to encourage customers. It's like it's really, we would throw those stats out there. Probably does make you feel like, oh well, actually, that's unattainable for me. And it's not to sort of make anyone feel a certain way, because it is unattainable for some families, for some situations, but it's just about being mindful. So I'm not expecting anyone to sort of go suddenly turn everything off, go be like put tape over their taps and be like, we can't use this water. But we do have tariffs that are available. We do have specialist support as well, for those who need to use that additional water. And sometimes it's about looking at different things. So we're starting to look at different innovation out there. Water efficiency has been done in the same way for a very long time, with the same devices and the same sort of products and the same bathroom setups and different things. But we're starting to explore other things. There's a company down in Swansea called Nilaqua, and they do waterless products. They have these shower caps that you sort of put on and help people with perhaps who are maybe bed bound and can't go and have a shower and things like that. We still want to be able to support our customers, and perhaps it's difficult for some customers to have the same, but it's about seeing what else can be done. We went to a community group recently where they use water as part of play for some of the children are there that have some sensory issues, and they love this, this water play. We're not going to go in and say, look, stop using water for water play, but it's like, what can we do to try and prevent wastewater there, but still allow them that experience? Can we put a different shower head on there, or is that still not enough? Do we need to order a shower head with different colors on it, where once you've used a lot of water, it changes to, from green to amber to red? They do exist. They are out there. It's not something that's viable for us to do across Wales and be like, right, okay, we're going to fit everyone with a light up shower head, because it's not the right thing for our customers. But on a community basis or on an individual basis, and I think that's what it's all about, so having those individual conversations. That's what's really good about our advisors going out and having these conversations with people in their homes, is they have that opportunity to have a real life conversation. And it might be that someone absolutely cannot save water on their bathroom water use because of wherever they have, wherever requirements they have. But that doesn't mean to say, that person could still be running the water to wash their fruits and vegetables all the time. They could be doing that, and we could be saying, actually, could we put a plug in? Could we do that and people use water in loads of different ways. When you think about everyone with their skincare and beauty products, and young people using different face masks and washes and things that you see. It's about having conversations, be like, well, what innovation is out there to change that? How can we stop them from running the water? It's not stopping them from using water, it's just from wasting it. So I think there's just new conversations that need to happen about what's out there. And definitely, Amanda, I don't think it's a one size fits all. Everyone is different, and it's not to demonize people who use more water. It's just to understand how we're using it. And from a landlord's point of view, I think there's absolutely lots of work to be done there. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think that's what these conversations are now, building awareness, educating, seeing who is the right person to talk to. Because as a water company, we might not run in those circles, and it might be sort of working with other people and being like, oh, have you met this contact, and how we can sort of tackle things together. And I think it's just going to take time, really, and more sessions and more conversations.
If I could come in on that as well, I think, Amanda, also, as Ali mentioned, the innovation there is coming. So I know on the call here we've got Eve Fruiton from the Robert Price Innovation Centre. If you've ever been to their place in Newport, they have amazing new technologies, solutions. And I know they've had some water section in that centre. And I think that will grow as we see more innovation, like the lights we were talking about, or colour schemes, different savings devices. And I'm hoping landlords should be asking landlords, what are you looking at? What technology, what solutions are you looking at as part of retrofit, which is part of this conversation, WHQS? How are you going to retrofit these homes to be more water efficient? How else can we use another subject of grey water and different things, or rainwater capture, things like this? So, we'll see this innovation, and we will push this from TPAS. We'll work with people like Robert Price Centre to try and champion some of this work. So that's one bit. The other bit, I think, Amanda, you asked about WHQS. There was some chat about that. I'm going to be pushing Welsh Government on some of these timescales, some of the requirements, the ability to opt out of things. I think there's further work, and I have written to Darren at WHQS during this meeting with Mel's comment and things like that, and I will take that forward. So your live comments are being listened to by Annie and myself, and I'll be taking my bits forward and say to Welsh Government on that. So good. Just want to lower my hand. Let's have a look.
I think there is a really interesting question on the combined tap, David, raised by Amanda. I've lost
Amanda,
it.
do you want to ask it while I just quickly, rather we try and find it in the comments?
Yeah, it's just simply, for example, downstairs in my kitchen, it's a combined tap. I think I use less water because I know to get the temperature right. But upstairs, it's hot and cold. And you know what it's like, you're messing around, getting the balance, filling the sink, because you can't just get that little bit you need. You've got to. And so I was wondering, is there also the possibility of also changing the idea, separate taps up in bathrooms to a single tap, reducing water, because you only need to use what you need to run quick rather than have to fill the sink to get the right temperature to carry on. And I was just wondering if that's ever considered.
I think it's just so different for everyone. So you might use both taps to run the water to get a certain temperature, but some people's taps might like heat up quicker or take longer to heat up and things like that. To change the tap situation in the bathroom, if you already have existing sinks, there isn't like a hole there to be able to just quickly sort of pop those two out. You'd have to sort of,
Yeah, it
fill
was
a
just
hole.
what does that also impact on how much water, is that another way of considering if bathrooms are being upgraded, adapted, whatever, water reduction, possibly consider bringing a single tap installation in? Is that another avenue?
I think we've seen an increase in single taps due to the aesthetics of it, but it just depends on the actual tap itself because sometimes now you've got single taps that are sort of like a waterfall, and actually that doesn't allow for sort of tap aerators, and they probably use a lot more water. So I think it's more just about the particular style of that tap. Is that tap a water efficient tap or not, as opposed to the separate taps? Because sometimes we get people as well with the dual tap saying that if they've been using it for hot and then they need cold water and things like that, or running it to get cold water. So what is handy is if you've got a jug as well for a lot of the time in the kitchen, if you've got a jug for having cold water when you need, a glass of water or squash, rather than sort of running it to cold.
Okay. Before I come to Mel, I just want to comment. Eve from Robert Price actually put in the chat that they actually are running an event. I had no idea. I haven't set this up. It's not pre-done. That they're running an event for landlords on water saving technologies in March. So if you are in that part or a customer of Robert Price, I'm sure that she'll be in touch with you on that. And you're right, Amanda, about tenants. I expect we can blag an invite there. TPAS, we have to make a video about everything we do. So I'm sure we'll try and see if we can make a video on demonstrating some of those technologies. It's part of our constitution, I think, we make a video. Sorry, Mel, should I come over to you now?
Yeah, hi. I do everything I possibly can to save water.
Yeah.
But because of the way water is distributed around the complex I live on, I have two huge water tanks in my loft, one for my flat and one for downstairs flat. And I've had several times I can hear water running up there that is from going into my tank. I've had the landlord out to it several times. They say, oh, there's nothing we can do to fix it. Well, it's your blooming tank,
Yeah.
And I get bills that I think are excessive for a single person in a one-bedroom flat who is very careful about their water use. And I'm sure you're sick of me here moaning about my landlord, but it's so frustrating when you are trying to do your best, but the physical environment doesn't allow you to do it.
I could have a look into that for you, Mel. Just make sure there's no mix match with meters and things like that. If you want to send over any details to me, and I can have a look at that.
I've been through all this. There is honestly, as I say, I had my meter replaced about a year ago because it wasn't it was not reading correctly. And to be honest, the bills have gone up since I had it replaced. So the meter not working properly, I shouldn't have had it replaced. But no, as I say, it is actually a physical thing that unless they completely replumb the entire estate, which they're not going to do, it's 74 properties, there is no way of fixing it. I mean, at one stage, they tied a bit of rope to the bullcock in the loft, a bit of string, to hold it up to stop it fitting until they could get, apparently, the bullcocks they have up there are quite unusual and difficult to source. So we just go round and round in circles. I'll stop now.
It is quite a common leak
Yeah.
on the header tanks, and we do see it. It's the same sort of system on lots of sort of old toilets, things like that. Some of the header tanks need these large, really large bullcocks that sometimes fail. But I wouldn't mind having a look into it, into any, even just having a look again if you want me to.
Okay, I'll get your contact details from David or somebody.
That's great.
Okay.
Lynn, I'm just conscious of time. Do you want to ask a question?
Right. Question. If all the population in Wales reduces all their water consumption, etc., will Welsh Water be reducing their bills to accommodate, or will they still keep increasing bills?
So it's probably multi-layered. So it's not just based on our water consumption, it's on operating costs and things as well. So it would depend on if we lowered water consumption and as a result that lowered, operating costs, then it would cost less for our customers' bills because everything is sort of interlinked. But that's sort of what our customer bills are based on, sort of the overall costs of running everything, because we are a not-for-profit model, so things do get reinvested into it. So if we hypothetically, if we didn't have any operating costs, then they would be that simple. But because of costs of renewing mains and things like that, it depends on the overall cost, the overall spend on what the bills come out as, in sort of a basic terms.
Yeah. I think, to be fair, that's probably a question for the chief exec rather than for Nanny.
Oh, I'd love to ask the chief exec that one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But no, I mean, like I say, there's lots of moving parts on that, but the more we can be more efficient, the more everything becomes efficient. And this is wider than bills, I think, as we look at the environmental cost. I'm conscious of time. Can I use chair's privilege and ask one last question? It came through on a private chat. I don't think they were confident to ask it. Because some of you have seen this on social media. So I wanted to ask is, I'd like to ask, why don't we see more of those combined wash hand basin toilet combos they have in Japan, where the basin is on the top, you wash your hands, and then the wastewater goes to refill the cistern? Is that, you see it in social media all the time?
I love them. I love them. So I would love that in my bathroom because it's again, we all strive for these aesthetic bathrooms and space saving and things like that. And I love the sort of water reuse concept. The problem with them is sometimes the plumbing with them, with back siphonage or how they're plumbed up, making sure like the water level sits correctly, so there's no risk of contamination to the network and the systems and different things. Or you don't want to be drinking toilet water because it's been because of back siphonage and things like that. So it's more to do with just making sure that they're installed properly, and because not every toilet installation is checked by like water regulations, or not every plumber is checked by like water regulations, things like that. We don't tend to promote it just in case they get fitted the wrong way. Even with washing machines, they used to be fitted without non-return valves, and then you could risk, you'd get water quality issues, and people would say, "Oh, my water tastes a bit funny," and it's because you're drinking you know, sock water, but it's because of the, you know, the not having non-return valves and how the water can travel around. So
There
modern
are
washing
strict
machines now,
regulations on that, aren't there?
yeah,
When I
well,
mentioned we
yeah,
were the first to import a certain water fountain from America, it didn't have the UK standards on, and we had to have it adjusted for non-return before we were allowed to install it in the park,
yeah.
because you can't possibly risk contaminating the bigger water system, isn't it? Yeah.
No, I don't want to give like political answers, but politician answers. But you know, yeah, unfortunately, it's multi-layered. But I love those, and I do love sort of water reuse. You know,
Yeah.
like being able to wash your hands and then them going. But I think it's just making sure that we have the regulations and the right installation around things.
But it is possible. We know
Yeah.
Monmouthshire Housing Association, the people from here from Monmouthshire, you know, they have a lot of rainwater filling their toilets and things like that. Their building was designed to use water more efficiently, and I think we need to see more of that in
Yeah.
blocks of flats and things like that going forward. That's probably another subject, the whole rainwater reuse. If you've got,
Yeah.
let me know if you knows that subject. But yeah, I'm conscious. Sorry, George. Is there anything quick? Because we're way over the time with people
sorry.
dropping out. Anything, George, you want to just quickly say?
Hi. I was wondering why you've not touched on the subject of sewerage, because obviously the water we consume then becomes the sewerage, as it were. And you know, I mean, it's half of your business, and yet you've not mentioned it.
I think
So
before Annie answers, though, in defence, I think there's a number of subjects in this, and we wanted to talk about more efficiency today. I think there's other subjects like we talked about, grey water, rainwater, sewerage, that maybe if this is a series we could focus on. But sorry, Annie, I didn't want to jump in there, but yeah.
no, that's fine. I just appreciate, you know, it's very a politically charged thing at the minute, particularly in the media. I do work on the clean side of the business, so I don't work on the sewage side. But yeah, you know, if we did waste less water, there'd be less pressure on our sewage networks and things like that as well. Because you know, we are putting things down the sewage that add that pressure to them to, you know, and they're hard to maintain and they're old networks and they, you know, yeah, it is multi-layered, but we, you know, I'm sure we'd be happy. We've got teams of people that go out and talk a bit more and give that sort of in-depth section on why sewage overfills, these overspills happen and things like that. You know, we are open to having a session on those things.
And it could be that this becomes a series. I think it's been quite strong demand today. We're losing people now because they're going to other meetings, but I think this is. I hope you found this useful, everybody. I'm going to draw it to a close now, but it could be that we look at this more as we go forward. Other parts of the water, but I do really believe that water is key. How we treat water, how we respect water, how we use water, how we treat it is going to be key to a more sustainable planet. It's not just about paper straws and you know, gas boilers and stuff like that. So I hope you find this useful. Do fill in the feedback form if you want to see more of this type of subject. And I'd just like to say a big thank you to Annie for facing us today and talking through lots of the great things that we could all do to reduce our consumption, reduce our bills, and be better, should we say, better citizens of the world. So thank you very much to Annie today for this. And we'll see you all soon in other events. So thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you all. Thanks.